Thank you. And I have a presentation. Great. Thank you, Billy. Good morning, Chair Padilla, Commissioners. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis. Jennifer Savage, California Policy Manager for the Surfrider Foundation. California's 19 counties make up only 22% of the state, but those 19 counties are home to 68% of our population, 80% of the state's wages, and 80% of its GDP. So how the state prepares for sea level rise is, to put it mildly, significant. A few weeks ago, thanks to our partners at Lighthawk, Surfrider was able to document the king tides from the air and show what our coast will look like in the near future due to sea level rise. In most of the areas you're about to see, the king tide averaged a foot or so higher than normal. The ocean, however, is of course expected to keep on rising beyond that point, and doing so faster than initially predicted. Just last year, multiple reports again reinforced the urgency of making changes to stave off disaster and to adapt to the impacts already happening. Truth is, many of our beaches are likely already doomed. To save what we can, adaptation and mitigation is essential. Those efforts can include measures such as retrofitting roads and buildings, relocating vulnerable infrastructure, improving building codes, increasing zoning setbacks from the coast, installing green infrastructure, and implementing living shorelines. And I know this is not news to you. You guys are obviously all on the front lines of this, but that's exactly the thing. You are the key agency that is responsible for preserving the public's coast so that all of California's residents and visitors, regardless of income or background, have beaches to visit. So to that end, here's what our coast looked like a few years ago. So we're starting off in the southern end of the state. This is Fletcher Cove down in Solana Beach. Fletcher Cove is typically a beach that's really popular with families, but as you can see, the beach was completely flooded by the high tide. And remember, while this is unusual now, it's what will be normal soon. A similar situation in Del Mar, also in Encinitas. Moving up to Capistrano Beach in South Orange County, the legality of a lot of the coastal armoring here is actually in question. Here is San Clemente. You'll notice seawalls and other forms of armoring are a recurring theme. Moving up to Malibu. And the Malibu Lagoon, which is a fascinating intersection of nature and historical uses and modern day uses, and the future of which is very much in question. This is Port Hueneme. I know that the port is planning a large expansion, and so it'll be interesting to see where sea level rise factors into that planning. This is Ventura, getting particularly hard hit here. As you can see, revetments and seawalls abound, and it's probably a good time to mention that waves are dependent on beaches. So along with the beaches, an unfathomable number of surf spots, both iconic and not so much, are at risk. Jumping up to Santa Cruz, this is Pleasure Point, Opal Cliffs area. You guys, I'm sure, remember Opal Cliffs. And this is near Rockview Drive, if you're familiar with the area. Pacifica, an area of the coast which we know is well acquainted with coastal erosion. Jumping up to my neck of the woods, that highway going up the middle, bisecting the photo, that is Highway 101, so that is the lifeline between Humboldt County and the rest of the state. And you can also see, in this one, this is the Samoa Peninsula, where it connects with Arcata, and that's Highway 255 that is almost completely flooded out. That actually connects where I live with the rest of the world, so I feel a little sentimental about this particular spot. So clearly, it's imperative that the Commission require coastal communities to double down on proactively planning for sea level rise. Although also that the Commission needs to stop the trend of allowing seawalls through emergency permits, when the emergency has been so clearly illustrated. Sea level rise, coastal erosion, storm surges, none of these are surprises at this point, and the armoring of our coast must stop. To not hold decision makers and coastal property owners accountable for the future is destroying our beaches, it's undermining our economy, it's creating a California where the simple joy of digging your toes in the sand or taking a walk on the beach will be a lot harder to make happen because beaches will be a thing of the past. And I know that sounds crazy and hard to imagine, except it's really not. We deeply appreciate the Commission's dedication to coastal preservation and beach access as spelled out in the Coastal Act, and we simply ask you to keep all of this front in mind and to resolve to make saving California's beaches an absolute factor in your decision-making going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Sabrina